Hello everybody, Megazord here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video, and for today I have none other than my episode 23 review over ReZero Season 2 called Love Me Down to My Blood and Guts. And if you hadn't already done so, you can go ahead and click that card in the corner and check out my episode 22 review. This needs to happen, get a quick little recap though before we dive up into this big old episode. Man, I gotta say, oh freaking shoot, this is the stuff that ReZero is made out of, and oh gosh, this is the kind of moments that I definitely craved up in here. Everything from Amelia's third trial with her showing the future and stuff, a lot of dark stuff. You can hear some like voices and stuff in the background. Don't know exactly how well it can play out and whatnot though, but nothing is set in stone. And then the Garfield fight, whole freaking shoot against Elsa. Oh my gosh, there was just so many sick little animation scenes in that though. And even with the confrontation between Ram and Roswell, like whole freaking shoot, that scene right there. And then Puck coming up in here like that, I was like, oh man, things are really going down now. So quite a bit of stuff to say about this episode though, so let's go ahead and get up into it though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this episode review for ReZero Season 2.
This is the fat I brought us here, watch mine on shine. But if I could write my roses every from the bed, it's not enough. It's not enough for me to break the rule of this world. I was never gonna leave you, never wanna lose you, but make it in the end. No making that for real. I won't trust someone else's life. I know who I am.
Oh man, it's been quite some time since I was last wowed by a ReZero episode. It's an affirmation to me that the low points of the series aren't necessarily that bad, it's just that the peaks are so phenomenal that they overshadow everything else. I was immensely thankful to the animation team for pulling off all the stops to make this episode a success. Considering all the production difficulties that this season has faced, it wouldn't have surprised me if the action was restrained. In fact, I was mentally preparing myself for it and keeping my expectations in check, but this episode had some great action animation regardless of the circumstances. I was particularly impressed with Garfield's sequences, which were portrayed with raw, desperate, and fierce energy. The lighting effects reflecting the mansion's burning state also added to the interesting dimension to the battle, with a constant back and forth between shadowy silhouettes and illuminating close-ups. As the icing on the cake, all the good action was in service of some well-written story beats. It was impressive how effectively this episode developed and characterized Elsa in a few short scenes. We learned that she's a vampire, a devoted older sister to Meili, and a broken woman who seeks warmth through spilling blood. Spilling blood, like what the freak? This girl is crazy. All of this information contextualizes her previous behavior, like her reckless gusto for fighting, her ability to constantly come back to life after she's beaten, and her twisted personality. In the end, the way to defeat Elsa for good was to pit her against someone more stubborn than her. She gets a great send-off here, crushed by Garfield's sheer stubbornness. Ram also gets a good showing in this episode as she reveals the sheer extent of her feelings for Roswell. When she declares her love for Roswell and he's unable to even fathom it, it's a neat parallel with Rem's big confession to Subaru and his reaction from season 1. I also love the irony of Roswell declaring that Ram's motivation of love makes no sense when he's been single-mindedly obsessed with Echidna for decades. Until now, I've had the impression that Roswell has been too much of a jerk to ever become a proper ally to Amelia's camp. But I'm starting to think that Ram might just have what it takes to redeem him. It's official, folks. It's time to start appreciating Ram. I know how we always kind of joke around with Ram, and there ain't no such thing with Ram though, but I think Ram definitely gets the respect that she deserved purely from this episode alone. After all of these big emotional moments, I find myself almost overlooking Amelia's third trial. The trial itself wasn't a big deal, as it mostly consisted of voiceovers shouting out of context lines like an episode preview clip, but Amelia's later conversation with Minerva was also very revealing and very intriguing as well. the relationship Emilia has with the other witches is wholly unlike what Subaru had with them, which is a really effective way of showing that there's way more of these characters than what initially meets the eye. Minerva even hints that Emilia's birth mother is someone related to the witches. That's bound to keep me up at night, but even more than that, I was struck by the unspoken significance in Minerva's familiarity with Emilia. It was as if Minerva was holding herself back from saying everything she felt, and that indicated to me that her feelings must be very strong indeed. Before I end this week's review, I want to mention that the gag that Subaru tries to use the modern science knowledge to take down a mob beast only for it to have no effect was hilarious. If only he were in a different isekai anime, or even Dr. Stone, that would probably have worked. That's just one little funny little moment I just found some good enjoyment out of though. But that basically does it in terms of this review for this week's episode of ReZero though. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, this episode was clicking on every single beat. Loved every single action scene, everything from Garfield versus Elsa and all that high action that was going back between them two. Like, that was some very sick animation. I loved every little bit of it though. And then including that one moment where we had Ram versus Roswell over there. And, you know, Ram just trying to pour out all of her feelings for Roswell over there. But at the same time, they were about to go back and forth. And it seemed like Ram basically took a very devastating blow at the very end of it because she chunked Roswell's book up in the fire like that. Like, gosh dang. And then even with Emilia's trial in the future though, some of those things that those people were voicing over during that future trial stuff was some very concerning stuff, and it seemed like everything could go possibly wrong. But it seems like Emilia has enough faith and enough confidence within herself that, you know, this future isn't set in stone yet, and she'll do whatever it takes in order to try to prevent that tragic future from happening though. So a lot of good stuff in this episode though, but y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all did you think about this episode and what was your favorite part from this episode. A lot of different things to choose from though, but a lot of good things was going for this episode though. But that's basically all I have to say about this review though. So if you really like this review, go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and that bell to stay up to date on all things ReZero Season 2 that I feel like discussing for this season though. And remember, we only got 2 more episodes left, so we're making that final push towards the very end. So I imagine we might have a couple more good action related scenes up there though. So just hang tight, and we're almost to the end of this 25 episode season that was split into 2 cores. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.